All right, welcome everyone. My name is Farney
Please.
Farnell, and together we're here to deliver refreshing and insightful, just in time workday session, really meant to set you up for micro learnings over the course of your day and greater productivity. So, as we're getting to wrap up 2024, I just want more than anything for you to feel empowered to do that. So, in today's session, it's entitled Leadership COGS Ready for Reviews. And a quick reminder just who I am, because you may be new to this. Um, After years as a Fortune 100 senior global leader in financial services and consulting, I realized there was a gap in my understanding. I'm a first gen systems engineer trained in business, and I knew process and technology inside and out. But I realized that there was a little bit of a difference in culture, and that caused me to struggle. I struggled with many unwritten rules that usually help the best leaders and the highest performers to thrive. So I launched the Lenserf Group just about 11 years ago, and since then we've helped thousands of leaders and countless teams in more than 33 countries to see beyond the obvious, to really see past their limitations and to exceed their potential. So I encourage you to just share in the chat. Where are you tuning in from? And if you have any questions over the course of the next 25 minutes, feel free to drop those in the chat or speak into the space. I welcome your voices here. So let's go ahead and move forward. So just a quick reminder about what COGS stands for. We are here in Leadership COGS. Just a quick reminder of what that means. C is celebrate. So in any session you're about to go into or anything meaningful you're about to do, recognize the importance of celebration in accelerating you forward. So before you even get started, just get ready, celebrate something small, and activate your brain in a way that positions you for success. O is ownership. So, in any circumstance, what is your role? How can you take ownership? What are you actually stepping into? Just be clear about what that is. G. G is the glue. So, you may go into a meeting, you may go into something and be a little bit stuck. You might be in a little bit ahead of ahead of your game. Your A game may not be ready to be played. So, where are you stuck? Just acknowledge it. Naming it for yourself gives you an opportunity then to ask for support. And S, COGS, the S in COGS is the stretch. If you're not in a stretch circumstance, chances are you're going to be bored after a period of time. So, where, even if you're showing up to a routine thing, where is it that you might stretch? So, if you join today, this might be your stretch on how to think about preparing yourself for your reviews. So let's go. Well, our topic today is ready for reviews. And as we're here at the end of the year, you might have just started thinking about this with your leadership. If not in December, very likely in the next few months, you might have a heart to heart with someone about your performance in the workplace. And sometimes this performance discussion is tied to the end of a fiscal year. So if your fiscal year is ending in December, this is likely going to be a conversation you're having soon. Sometimes it comes up, why? Why is this even tied to the fiscal year? Well, oftentimes reviews are tied to business performance first. And business performance, whether or not you're at a formal, corporation, working at a nonprofit, or some other type of business, business performance is dependent on you because you work for business. And so the heart of business performance is your performance, how you're contributing, how you're showing up, and your impact in that space. So the next question becomes, what are performance reviews? Well, first, they're a formal process to really have a heart to heart. It's meant to be formal because your contribution anywhere is important. So take it seriously because it's how you're showing up and it's an opportunity to discuss that. Next, it's meant to assess alignment. So the business, whatever business you're working for, or if you're a business owner, or if you simply lead a team in some way, there is a responsibility tied to your presence there. And this becomes a formal opportunity to assess what is the mandate that you're showing up for and how are you moving the ball forward or accelerating that mandate. So assess alignment between a goal and how you've performed in that goal or against that goal. And at this point, what sometimes happens is people feel a little bit uncomfortable about really that truth telling session, but it's not meant to be feedback, like look back and feel bad about looking back and dig deep into regret. Rather, it's meant to be feed forward, to accelerate whatever that mandate is, assess how that mandate has progressed, assess how you have progressed as an individual, how you've grown. It's feed forward to accelerate you as an individual into whatever is next for you. Nothing about what has transpired is lost. Nothing. The wins, the not so wins, and anything else, nothing is lost in this process. Everything adds value. I say feedback or even failure is fertilizer for what is to come. What else? Growth and skill development. So when we think about performance reviews and this discussion, it's intended to be grounded in growth and skill development. So, what is it that was a goal? If it's explicit or not, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And how have you grown because you've had this series of experiences, independent of the actual assessment of how well you performed? How have you grown because you have had these series of experiences with this group of people? And if you were working alone, that doesn't actually matter because you still would not have been exactly what you were when you first started, whatever it is that you were working on. Oftentimes, we don't want to acknowledge that there's actually room for growth. And and what I know is at those times, you might be stuck simply in the idea that you could have grown. But if you really reflect back, you may have also been stuck or spun for a little bit. And it's those times when you were spinning and you couldn't make progress, that there's a lot to harvest because those times point to where you may be experiencing a skill gap. So gaps can be scary that I don't have something. And when I have this conversation, it becomes obvious that I don't have something or I'm not able to do something. That's the negative thought pattern. The positive thought pattern is, hey, I don't know this thing. And now I have opportunity to learn what that thing is so I'm not stuck. Or bigger than the opportunity to learn, it may be the opportunity to ask. Ask for some type of a resource, access to some type of a person who might support the next leg of your journey, of your performance. What else? The performance review is also an opportunity to ask for recognition. We are human, and at the heart of humanity is wanting to be recognized for just that you show up, that you're there, that you exist in that space. Recognition can look like a lot of different things, and it's part of this performance review process. Recognition for what you've done, recognition for what may not have been done, recognition for the opportunity, recognition for what was not an opportunity, and also rewards. If you exist in a space where there may be rewards, that could be more competitive assignment next time, that might be financial compensation. That might be something else. That might be a growing team, a new team member that may be put on your team. But whatever those rewards are, this is an opportunity to think about those things. And then this is most importantly, performance reviews are about planning. It's an opportunity to plan with rich data. And why do I say rich data? Because this data is usually tied to things that have already happened. So you can mine that rich database. That may be your calendar, may be something else. The projects you've implemented, it might be something more visible, client facing even, number of deals closed, number of patients visited, it might be whatever that number is based on your role, but it's an opportunity to plan with lots of historical data that is accessible, most importantly, to you. So, thinking about this performance review as comprised of all of these key pieces, who might be the cast of characters involved? Let's talk about the review process. In this process, we default to thinking that it's just leadership. So if you work for an organization, it's just leadership that might actually dig in and give you some feed forward on what went on. If you're in some other places, it might actually be, and you're subject to a 360 review where you might have your direct reports, or you might have others in other organizations who are also reviewing you. Those might be some of the casts, some of the folks that are maybe involved in your process. But I just want to offer that a different thought. And this different thought is you are the most important part of your performance review. Why? Because you have a job and you're likely building a career. You're not just here for the job. You're building a career, and a career is comprised of many different experiences that so beautifully come together into the person that you are and applying to that role. So when you think about yourself as applying all of these lived experiences to your role, you're also progressing other areas of your life that exist beyond just your professional position. So I offer this because it's not only just your career that is in focus with this review. It's not just your compensation that's in focus with the review, but it's everything else that you are progressing to move your life along. And your career is one element that is very powerfully moving you forward. So when you pause and think about preparing or getting ready for a performance review, it's not as superficial as, oh, what did I work on this year? Did I have some goals? If so, what were they? And it's bigger than that. It's, what did I have an opportunity to be part of? And how is this forwarding where I see myself moving? And if you haven't paused for a minute and asked yourself that question, I encourage you to do it as you get ready for your reviews. If you've never done it before, this is no penalty. There is no judgment here. But this can be the day that you begin. What am I working towards? I'm here in this role, and I may love my role and never want to change. But what is the impact that I've had? And what is the impact that I may want to have that I'm yet to experience? And honestly, even if you want no other role ever in life, just knowing that much, that concept, that Japanese concept of ikigai, is purpose. You have better grounding and reconnection to your purpose. Why are you here right now? And the you that's here right now connects to all of these things. Your career, which is what we're talking about right now, your financial remuneration, right? Like your compensation, all of this is tied together. So as you get ready for your reviews, and you're waiting to hear from leadership or others on your team, I sincerely encourage you to invest the time in preparing yourself first. The big why, the big where are we going? So, what else? Let's think about your goals. Your goals or intention, they serve as your compass. So, I oftentimes talk about the concept of a compass. And for those of you that drive or even take the metro, when you're about to embark somewhere, you may go to Google and put it into Google Maps and get a turn by turn instructions on where you go and how to get there. Goals or intentions serve exactly that purpose. They are your compass. If you don't have goals that have been assigned by your organization, then you may be in a position that you may have to make them up. And if you're making up those goals, that's completely fine too. Why? Because you get to retroactively fit yourself into what you've done for the year and align them to where you want to go. So this isn't rocket science experience at all. This is simply ensuring that what you capture actually makes sense in a meaningful way. So let's keep going here and thinking about what is involved with your compass. So with this compass, what does the goal capture look like? Well, here you have a couple columns. What is the goal? Whether or not you have them and been assigned those goals or not, capture something. And if you're like, this is too difficult, Farnia, break it up into quarter. What did you accomplish in first quarter? What are you proud of having accomplished in second quarter? Take a look at your Outlook calendar. Many of us live and operate based on our calendars. What did you do first quarter? Just scroll through your calendar. If you don't remember, go scroll through your emails. What happened there? And then reflect on what is the evidence of that thing. So if it's a new project that was launched, what was the project? And what is the evidence that you participated in that project? Another important question comes up, and that's who did you work with? I say this because oftentimes you may be working on a team, and those team members come with a bunch of different skills. And just reflecting on who might have been with you when you were doing whatever it was that you were doing, and reflecting on who you may have wanted to be there, participating and accelerating whatever you were working towards. This is an opportunity to get ready to ask for who might be missing, or even to reflect back and say, I learned this thing from this person, and I would have loved to have learned so much more. So go through on your calendar or however you track your goals. If you're not tracking, that's okay. This is not punitive. I actually have a worksheet that you can use, and feel free to contact me after the session if you'd like access to that worksheet. But you have an opportunity here, just on a sheet of paper right now, to jot down a few goals that you might have had over the course of this year. They might be personal, they might be professional. If they were professional, you may have received those from your leadership or from your organization. Again, if you did not, that is perfectly fine, because independent of having received them, you still have an opportunity to retroactively say, this is what I was working towards, and this is what worked, and this is what didn't work. So I say that, oh, this is what worked and this is what didn't work, because what you're also capturing are what we call start, stop, and continue behaviors. So start ties to, what is it that you would like to start? Or what is it that you were initially supposed to start. You can capture both. What is it that didn't work and you might have had to stop? And what is it that you would like to continue in order to grow? So when I say these things, this is tied to not only the actions that you may or may not have taken, but also to your behaviors. So we're not going to dig deep into behaviors, but when you show up professionally, or if you're thinking about this and ready for reviews through the professional or personal lens, when you show up, there may be behaviors that you're exhibiting that are in alignment with your role. So if you're head of, or if you're executive director, or if you're a leader of something, or even if you're an individual contributor, there is an expectation for behaviorally how that role shows up. What are those things that you can stretch yourself? That S and COGS, stretch yourself to start doing, that are in better alignment with being successful in your role. And we're doing this first here and not directly in front of your leadership during a performance review. Why? Because they may not, at that point in time, want to tell you everything. So you do the inventory yourself. What are those things you have an opportunity to start, or you would like to aspirationally start doing behaviorally? Because this might talk to mentorship. Who do you want to call into your space to perhaps serve you as a mentor? Next up, stop. Behaviorally, there may be things that perhaps you were promoted into a role that you are expected to do professionally that perhaps don't align with how you're showing up. So, what are those things that you're doing that you might need to stop? It worked in the past, that your approach was effective where you were, but in this role, it doesn't quite work. And then lastly, what is it that you would like to continue? Because you saw the fruits of your labor, you saw the fruits of your personality, you saw the connection that happened as a result of behavioral things that worked for you. What were those things that were rich and they renewed and restored your clients or your leaders or your teams in the places where you showed up? What are the things that worked and you want to do more of? This is an opportunity during the performance review process to think about that and to document that. So I'm recommending this table. This is a simple table. You could blow it out as far as you'd like to, because the more detail you put in, it could serve you better, and it can also show you what, okay, I don't want this one. This is just for me. This isn't going any further. This is harvesting your celebrations. The C in COGS is celebrate, and this is harvesting your celebrations. And you might say, I had goals and I didn't actually perform that well with this particular goal. And that's okay. That's okay because you may not have performed, but what did you learn? And acknowledging what you learned is as powerful as acknowledging what you did great, because what you learned says that you learned it and you're not still stuck. And if you didn't learn something and you're still stuck, what is it that you might need to get you unstuck? Defining that thing positions you during a performance discussion in a much more powerful way. I didn't do this, and this is why. And I'd like to do this. It demonstrates you taking ownership. That O in COGS is ownership. It demonstrates you taking ownership and getting yourself unstuck by asking for what you need, acknowledging and asking. So the elephant that might be in your room is there with you. So let's recap. Our C, Celebration of performance reviews, getting ready for your reviews and getting ready to reorient your compass. Is celebrate that you're here and watching this and preparing for your next. This is step one of reorienting your compass. The O. The O is, where in this process are you taking accountability? Accountability for the wins, accountability for the losses, accountability for your impact. The G, the where were you stuck? The where do you anticipate you might continue to be stuck and you need some support, so that as you're having a conversation, even if it's only with yourself, you're being truthful to yourself. And the S, how will you stretch in the next year? How will you not do those things you didn't want to do? How will you stretch yourself so that your impact is expanding in the way that you prefer? And I say the way that you prefer for this reason. For this reason, if you don't have goals that came from your organization, you can set your own. It doesn't relieve you from setting your own goals. If you don't have goals, I'm repeating that, if you don't have goals that came from your organization, it doesn't keep you from creating your own, because when you show up anywhere, why are you there? What is the impact you're there to make? And this is an opportunity for you to do a sanity check on that. So I'll pause here. And of course, if you need any support, I thank you first for joining us today. It has been great having you here. In the meantime, don't forget you can catch this session and many others on demand anytime through the app. And if you have questions, again, I'm going to pause in a second. If you have questions or just want to reach out for the template or anything else, feel free to email me at farnia@lenserfgroup.com or drop. I thank you for being here. Take care and be well.